WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H may have finally decided who will be the one to defeat Roman Reigns and win the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. We've got an update on that. Plus, Jake Paul was supporting his brother this past Saturday at Crown Jewel. But could there be WWE plans in the future for Jake? We'll speak about that. Plus, Braun Strowman, does he have heat with Mustafa Ali and some of the WWE locker room after his comments following the event in Riyadh on Saturday? Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley squared off at Crown Jewel. We've got an update on the plans moving forward for both men in WWE. We've also got an update on possible interest in Chelsea Green coming back to the company. Also, what is the reward for winning the Smackdown World Cup? And Sasha Banks was included in the WWE intro this past Saturday, but was it a mistake? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE. So let's start off talking about who will be the one to finally defeat Roman Reigns. The guy has not been pinned in nearly 3 years. The last time he got defeated in terms of being pinned or submitted was December of 2019 against Baron Corbin. I believe it was at TLC, the match itself. But since then, of course, he's gone away from WWE, come back, won the Universal Championship. He's held that championship for over 2 years. He's now the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. He rules WWE. He is the biggest star. He's the tribal chief, the head of the table. He is the one. But who will be the one to defeat Roman Reigns? Well, maybe we have a bit of a clearer picture right now, because certainly Triple H has an idea of who that person will be. As I mentioned, Roman Reigns, ironically, pun intended, has reigned over WWE as WWE Universal Champion for over 2 years and as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion since WrestleMania 38 earlier this year. As Roman's historic reign rolls on, fans have begun to speculate about who could be the one to finally unseat the tribal chief as the head of the table. Many names, of course, have been speculated, from Cody Rhodes to The Rock to Jey Uso to Sami Zayn. While speaking to Louis Dangoor of Give Me Sport, WrestleVote's very Twitter account revealed that the company now finally has an idea on who indeed is going to be the person to defeat Roman Reigns, though they said that Roman dropping the championships won't be happening, quote, any time soon. They said, quote, they have an idea of who is going to beat Roman. I don't know specifically if it's Cody, I don't know if it's The Rock, I don't know if it's Bray, but I think there's a handful of guys they would say, all right, this makes sense for the future. But I don't think it's happening anytime soon, to be honest with you. Now, this is quite significant news. You might say, well, Owen, that's very vague. And yes, it's very vague. If we had an idea of who actually that person would be, we would be leading with that story right now. But certainly it is significant news, considering there were reports previously that with the old regime, with Vince McMahon being in charge of creative, Vince McMahon being in control of the company, he hadn't even thought on who could be the person to potentially defeat Reigns, never mind when that would actually be. He had no idea who that person would be and when that match might actually take place. Reigns, of course, recently defended the Undisputed Universal Championship against Logan Paul in the main event of Crown Jewel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Logan, of course, announced after the match that he had suffered a torn MCL, meniscus, and potentially ACL. Reigns' status for the upcoming Survivor Series event was seemingly revealed at the Premium Live event as well, looking more and more likely he will be competing in a War Games match with his Bloodline faction. So, certainly significant news that Triple H, who is in charge of creative for WWE, has a rough idea of who that person will be. Again, we don't know when that's going to be. We don't know how soon. WrestleVotes is saying not anytime soon. And to be honest, even that's quite significant, because when he says not anytime soon, or when they say it not anytime soon, I mean, WrestleMania in reality isn't a million miles away. It's not. WrestleMania is in April of next year, and realistically, you've got November and December. Nothing happens around this time of the year anyway for WWE, so it's not happening then. And when I would consider WrestleMania 39 next season, I consider that relatively soon. So if he's not saying anytime soon for then maybe it's not in Hollywood next year. Maybe we are getting Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania. The thing is, with the Roman Reigns versus The Rock scenario, for me, and I think quite a few people share my opinion on this, for me, that match doesn't need to be for the Undisputed Universal Championship. If that is the case, Roman Reigns would have to drop those championships prior to facing The Rock at WrestleMania. That can be the main event anyway of one of the nights, certainly, but that can be the main event of one of the nights, and then you can have, Reigns versus The Rock main event it, and you can have a championship match as well. Because if that match is a championship match and it's for the belts, we know who's winning. We know Roman Reigns will beat The Rock because The Rock is not going to win both the WWE and Universal Championship. The Rock is not going to leave WrestleMania as the undisputed Universal Champion. It's a one match and done kind of scenario for him. It will be his final professional wrestling match ever, to be honest with you. He'll be done. He's only going to come back to WWE for that final match against a family member to finally properly pass the torch to Roman Reigns. So that match doesn't need to be for the bouts. If anything, it makes it more predictable. If you've got Roman Reigns versus The Rock and the titles aren't on the line and Roman Reigns has already dropped the championships, then it's at least a little bit less predictable because you think, wow, I suppose maybe The Rock could win that match, even though it'd be his final match. I suppose that could be a scenario where he does win that match, his final match, because it's The Rock after all, and it's The Rock in Hollywood. That kind of does make a little bit of sense there, I guess, but still at the same time, as I mentioned, you still go, again, for me, it doesn't need to be for the championship, in my opinion, and I don't think. But I can understand why WWE would want to do it for the title, basically meaning, it's the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, even though they had the biggest WrestleMania match of all time this past year with Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for 2 championships, championship unification. So I don't know. I think if they're saying that it's going to be Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania for both of the bouts, then it doesn't mean Roman's dropping it anytime soon. A logical thing could be, though, if The Rock isn't sealed in and isn't dialed in for WrestleMania next year, then Cody Rhodes could return. He could win the Royal Rumble, and he's absolutely a possibility to be the one to defeat Roman Reigns. But again, if that is the case, we need to find a situation where the belts are split, because we need to have a championship on SmackDown, and we really need to have a championship back on Monday Night Raw. It's been since, when was the last full-time WWE champion we had on Monday Night Raw? It was Big E, and he lost it at the beginning of the year, day one of this year. After that, it was Brock Lesnar. Yes, you had Bobby Lashley, I guess, for a couple of weeks, and he was a full-time champion. I'll give you credit for that one. But still, we haven't had a long-term, full-time WWE champion on Raw for a while now. And not that the ratings really reflect that, but I'm sure USA Network would want to have that champion that's there week in, week out holding the championship. So they need to find a way to split the belts. And again, it's difficult. So even if Cody Rhodes is the guy to defeat Roman Reigns, to me, the logical way of doing it would be, I guess each night of WrestleMania, you have a championship on the line, but then Roman's going to lose both nights, unless you have, Roman retain the WWE Championship, say, on the first night, and then lose the Universal Championship on the second night. I don't know. They've backed themselves into a corner here, certainly, and it's difficult for WWE. So maybe the guy's Bray Wyatt. Maybe it is Sami Zayn. I don't know. You can let me know in the comment section below. It's a difficult one, and again, I think it's something that Triple H can't take lightly, and I don't think he does, but certainly it's a challenging scenario to try and figure out. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Jake Paul was, of course, at Crown Jewel this past weekend supporting his brother Logan, and could we see Jake Paul inside of a WWE ring in the future? Jake Paul made his official WWE debut this past Saturday at Crown Jewel. Jake arrived in Riyadh to support his brother Logan, who was challenging Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. There, Jake rushed down to the ring as the Usos, cousins of Reigns and the members of the Bloodline, began attacking Logan's fellow Impulsive podcast co-hosts from ringside. Jake managed to knock out the Usos before attending to his brother. Following the appearance at Crown Jewel, PW Insider provided an update on the problem child's future in WWE. Reportedly, there are no current concrete plans in the company for Jake at the moment, but there is a lot of interest on both sides to do something when the time is right. Logan Paul would end up losing to Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, later revealing a serious knee injury he sustained about halfway through the match. There is no current timetable for either Paul's brother return to WWE as it stands. Outside of this wrestling appearance, of course, Jake Paul maintains a heavy presence in professional boxing and entertainment. When asked if he would pursue WWE in the future, Jake expressed some interest, saying, quote, "For sure, why not?" in the post-show media scrum. "That was so much fun, and I know we could take it a long way. I loved it. I loved everything about it. And everyone here in WWE is super nice, super helpful, so it seems like an amazing company to be a part of." Jake continued to declare the Paul brothers as future champions, seemingly targeting the Bloodline for their gold. As I said in all of the Crown Jewel fallout and reaction content that we did here on the channel, whether it was the watch-along or the post-show or the match breakdown video that I did for the show, for me, I see the next step for the Paul brothers being a tag team championship match or a tag team feud with the Usos. I think that makes a lot of logical sense. I think that even might have been the plan for the Royal Rumble, maybe WrestleMania. However, with Logan Paul's injury now, that kind of throws a lot of things up in the air, of course. Logan Paul, when you tear your MCL, ACL, and your meniscus, you're out of action for a long time. Probably 9 months, maybe even longer, maybe even a year. And considering that is the case, we could be looking at maybe, even SummerSlam's a push. You have to remember, we're towards the end of 2022. So even if he was looking at a SummerSlam, depending on when that date is, I'm not sure if that's going to be, remember it was late July, early August this year. So I guess that's around 9 months. Even so, it's a push. You had Bayley, had a torn ACL. She was out of action for over a year. So it can take a while. It can take a long time depending on the severity of the injury, depending on how soon he gets surgery on the injury. There's so many different factors involved in this one. And maybe in the meantime, that's when they have Jake Paul come in and do a match against one of the Usos or do a match against Solo Sikoa. However, Solo Sikoa is not too experienced. I'm not sure how comfortable I'd be in having a not too experienced wrestler be in there with someone that's having their first ever professional wrestling match. And also as well, just because Logan Paul has worked inside of a WWE ring and he is incredibly gifted and talented and has a knack for this, just because that's the case for Logan doesn't necessarily mean that will be the case for Jake Paul as well. Because frankly, as I mentioned, Logan Paul's ability to do this is somewhat unprecedented. There are some people that are true top tier. They have that intangible it factor and they just can pick it up very, very quickly. They're athletes, they're entertainers, they have the reactions. Again, just because Logan can do it doesn't mean that Jake can do it. His punches against the Usos sucked, to be honest with you. So, I don't know. Look, again, Jake Paul is doing well in terms of professional boxing, even though he's not really facing professional boxers. He's facing MMA people and people that are past their prime. Nevertheless, WWE would want to work with him, and I'm sure Jake Paul would want to work with WWE, but it doesn't necessarily mean he would have the same success and aptitude, that's the word I'm looking for, that his brother does. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. There's been this heat, this weird fallout that's happened, and Braun Strowman, for some reason, has decided to really put his hand in the beehive, if you will, because he's no stranger, of course, to sharing controversial opinions about wrestlers and wrestling on social media. However, his latest viewpoint is already stirring debate among wrestlers and fans alike. After Crown Jewel, the monster among men, or the monster of all monsters, took to Twitter and bragged about his match with Omos at Crown Jewel. Strowman was proud of their outing, but he took it upon himself to criticize wrestlers who perform high-flying maneuvers, saying, quote, "Holy hell," at the giant Omos, "can you believe we got 47 stars?" and reminded people that no one cares about these floppy floppers. Giants and Monster over Flippy Flipper bag your groceries at Kroger. Hashtag airport test. Hashtag size is the prize. Hashtag swole is the goal. Fellow WWE superstar Mustafa Ali responded on Twitter asking Strowman if he can teach him how to get fired. As previously reported, Strowman was released by WWE back in 2021 before returning to the company this past September. Strowman responded to Ali's tweet by asking, quote, "Don't you work in catering now?" Not content to let the giant have the last word, Ali said he was definitely in the kitchen cooking Strowman. Elsewhere, New Japan star Will Ospreay questioned why Strowman was mad at other people in his profession succeeding. Quote, "It's dead funny that you actually done such a great job and yet you're mad at other people doing the same job as you," he wrote. "Relax, my guy. Just say you enjoyed showing super heavyweight wrestling." Chris Jericho also weighed in on the matter, saying that he used to bag groceries. Braun Strowman, after all of this heat that he received, suddenly kind of backpedaled a little bit. He said, quote, yo, all my brothers and sisters in the locker room, no matter where you came from, I have mad respect. We have all worked very hard to get where we are, and we're all here for a reason. Take a joke, internet wrestling community. You'll come at me non-stop, and the second I fire back, you melt. And then he spoke about having to pay Elon Musk $8 for this now. I don't... This is the thing. Braun Strowman essentially there is trying to, I guess, like kind of criticize independent wrestling, or again, that high flying, as he calls it, flippy floppy wrestling or whatever. The problem is he was an independent wrestler not long ago because he got fired by WWE. Now, I think Mustafa Ali's response is funny, saying, "Can you teach me how to get fired?" Because Mustafa Ali wanted to be fired under Vince McMahon. Nevertheless, it's a dumb thing to say by Braun Strowman. And this is the bit. Even I'm kind of speechless because I understand all sides of this argument. Truly, I do, because Braun Strowman versus Omos as a match, it was actually, to be honest, way better than it had any business being, and that was because of Braun Strowman. Nevertheless, it does draw. It's always drawn. Historically, big guy versus giant guy, the matches suck, but it draws. They had a match at a house show a couple of weeks ago, and it got like 1 million views on YouTube. It's ridiculous, the coverage that it got, because people always tune in for that. It goes back to the freak show. People like seeing two giants face off. Godzilla versus King Kong. That's what people want to see, right? That's fine, and it does draw. But at the same time, there are many different ways to do pro wrestling, and you don't have to like all of them, but at the same time, you don't have to criticize all of them. This is what I don't understand. It goes back to WWE versus AEW, or if you like Japanese wrestling or you don't like Japanese wrestling. There is this weird culture to say, I like this style of wrestling, therefore that style of wrestling is terrible, and if you like it, you're an idiot, and if you like watching it, or you watch it every single week, I'm going to tell you how stupid you are for watching it and how stupid you are for liking it. No, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There are many different ways of pro wrestling. You don't have to like them all. If you don't like them all, that's fine, but you don't have to tell everyone they're stupid for liking it at the same time, and that's essentially what Braun Strowman is doing there. He's a big heavyweight wrestler. He's a big guy. They had a good match. Good, well done. But we don't have to tell everyone at the same time, see, it's better than these flippy flopper wrestlers and they're doing this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. They can't do what you can do, and you can't do what they can do. That's it. That's the whole point for myself as a fan of watching a pro wrestling show, is the diversity, is different styles of wrestling. If the entire show is flips and flying out the ring, I get bored of it. I have seen shows like that. It's boring. At the same time, if it was all giants facing off against each other, it would be boring. Diversity and difference makes pro wrestling. Different styles make pro wrestling. Part of the problem nowadays is that a lot of people have the same style, and it gets very dull and tedious. But at the same time, if that's what you like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're dumb because that's what you like. Who am I to tell you what you're allowed to like and don't like? Like whatever you want. I don't care. And these wrestlers shouldn't care as well. Why Braun Strowman is wrestling at Crown Jewel and getting paid millions of dollars to appear at Crown Jewel and have a match that people enjoyed and he enjoyed doing, and his first thought to come out of it is to criticize a style of wrestling. It doesn't matter. Be happy. You got your bag. Go home. And then for him to backtrack and go, oh no, Matt, I've only got respect for people in the locker room. Well, clearly you don't, because if you had respect, you wouldn't say that. It's dumb. And if he can say, well, it was only a joke, well, it wasn't funny then, because it annoyed a lot of people. So I don't know. I just thought it's so unnecessary, really unnecessary. Now, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley faced off at Crown Jewel in the opening match. Brock Lesnar won in quite a shocking victory, the way he was able to pull it out. They now have one victory over each other. Of course, Bobby beat Brock at the Royal Rumble, and Brock beat Bobby at Crown Jewel. And Dave Meltzer has reported on a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio that WWE had planned for the third Lesnar versus Lashley match to take place at WWE Day 1 in Atlanta on January 1st. However, of course, WWE cancelled the event, and there are no plans to hold another premium live event between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble. When it comes to the rubber match, Meltzer doesn't know when it will take place, saying, quote, I don't know if they're going to save it for WrestleMania, or I don't know when, he stated. Originally, it was going to be Day 1, but obviously that's out. I don't know if they'll do it at Survivor Series. I don't know. I'm not sure where they'll do it. They may do it in Montreal for Elimination Chamber, or save it for WrestleMania. I don't think they'll go to WrestleMania next year, because I don't know if I have as much interest in seeing it at WrestleMania. I like WrestleMania for things to be fairly fresh and fairly, you can't have everything be a first time ever, but we've seen the match a couple of times now. We saw it at the Royal Rumble. We saw it at Crown Jewel. Unless you raise the stakes, and I'm not sure how they would do that, unless you did like Brock versus Bobby inside Hell in a Cell, that's a WrestleMania match. But if you're not going to do that, then I don't know what you would do. So I would prefer to see it at the Royal Rumble, maybe at Survivor Series. You know, you've got the whole War Games theme. That's pretty war-centric, isn't it? Having Brock versus Bobby in some kind of gimmick match, because that's what it have to be, I think, to you make sure you get a definitive winner, a last man standing or something. So I don't know if it'll go to WrestleMania. I hope probably. I don't think it will. Chelsea Green is possibly on her way back to WWE. According to Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting the former Knockouts champion was indeed part of internal discussion for a possible return to the company. However, neither an official deal or a return date is set as of yet. So despite the confirmed discussion within WWE, Fightful reportedly reached out to Green herself, who claimed she hadn't been contacted for a return and noted she still has the NWA, WrestleCade and other indie bookings scheduled well into March of 2023, suggesting that, again, I haven't heard anything, so I don't know what's going on, but I would think if there's interest, she could be on her way back to WWE, certainly. The Smackdown World Cup was announced this past Friday, and we now have an update on what the actual result and prize will be if indeed you win the tournament. We know names such as Santos Escobar and Shinsuke Nakamura are going to be part of the tournament. Despite the tournament drumming up excitement, the reward for the winner was not officially announced on the show. Well, per WWE.com's announcement on the tournament, the winner of the Smackdown World Cup will earn a shot at Gunther's Intercontinental Championship, which is a fantastic way to do this. And it's a great way of putting more emphasis and, again, just more importance on the Intercontinental Championship. I love the idea of winning the World Cup gets you a shot at the Intercontinental Championship, because that's what it is. Intercontinents. That's the World Cup. So it's an intercontinental competition for the Intercontinental Championship. What a fantastic concept. So I like that. Finally, there was a lot of buzz after Sasha Banks and Naomi were included in the WWE signature intro before Crown Jewel. It's the first time they've technically been seen on television since they walked out of the company on the May 16 edition of Monday Night Raw. However, per Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that WWE actually played the wrong opening at the start of the show, sharing the latest on Banks and Naomi. It was noted, we've asked about Naomi and Sasha Banks being added back to the intro. A rep said no news to report on that front. One source believed they just attached the wrong open to start the show. So there you go. It actually wasn't a subtle hint or anything like that. It was a mistake. Mistakes can happen. So there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.